Number 5.
The
Mount
Missing
Doom
Celeborn.
Steampunk Origins. Well, I guess I'll start with this. Why does Mount Doom have steampunk origins?
Good question.
It's a volcano. Volcanoes exist. They're not built. You would think maybe this volcano was why Sauron went to Mordor, but instead he liked the idyllic land of Mordor. Oh my gosh. Mordor is the boyfriend that Sauron says,
I can change him.
I can make him into a volcanic hellscape like I really want. Instead of finding an actual volcanic hellscape. No, wait, that's what he actually did in the real story. He found a volcanic hellscape and used it for his purposes, instead of making a complicated mousetrap game and never activated it. Because of course he did that, and of course he made a magic sword that never existed in the story that was the key to it all.
It's almost too obvious.
Do I need to explain why this is stupid? I don't think so. Lots of people have already done this. Kim, take us away with a different stupid, please.
I might not have another chance. Jean-Luc, you and I.
Missing characters. Celeborn, Matt talked about earlier.
I won't forget.
It's not just that his absence removes a stabilizing presence for Galadriel, and makes it very hard to explain how she's going to have a daughter that she apparently doesn't have yet.
That's what Elrond's for.
Oh, mama.
Or Sauron. Pick your multi-headed baby, everyone. Celeborn ain't coming out right, whatever happens here.
But it also contradicts even the movies of The Lord of the Rings. We know Celeborn's gotta be alive in the Third Age. Even casual fans know that.
Tell me where am I, for I much desire to speak with me.
So, what is the implication here? That Celeborn isn't dead? That he was kept prisoner in Thangorodrim for centuries and he'll eventually be released and rejoin Galadriel? That he did die, but he'll come back from overseas? Yeah, he went out for Athelas a couple centuries ago. He never came back. Or, dear Varda, is the implication that Galadriel quietly disposed of him and just wanted to get split from him and just is ignoring the fact that he's still out there? Is this some kind of elven trial separation? No.
Because that's so elvish.
That's so elvish.
That's one of our jokes we would make. That Galadriel buried him in a shallow grave and told everyone he was killed by orcs.
I know that the joke among the fandom, long since before the Peter Jackson movies, has been that Celeborn is useless, that he's just Galadriel's beard, that, you know, she
begging for a pagan.
Yeah, she probably engages in the BDSM in Karas Galathon. But that's not really what's going on here. We all know.
Tell an actual story with that.
Yeah. You can't. That's a joke, guys. That's not an actual story point. That's a joke.
I swear, half of these bad plot points are people taking the jokes of fandom seriously, like, oh, Sauron's the real victim, and he's actually trying to protect the poor innocent orcs. And idiots believe it and make it real on Reddit. These are jokes, people. They're not the story.
Let this be the hour when we draw swords together.
Number 4, Celebrimbor the Naive.
Quest. This whole storyline needed to be cut. We didn't need any of the hobbits. We didn't need any of Notdolf.
When in doubt, always follow your nose.
We didn't need any of Rune. We didn't need any of the 3 Nazgul ladies. We didn't need any of Pseudo-Saruman. None of it. Cut it all. But
well, while we're doing that, let's cut the whole series.
All of them.
one of the dumbest parts is the idea that Gandalf has to go and find his staff and find himself and go on a spiritual retreat in the East to get his groove on.
How Gandalf got his groove back.
No. Even if you're going with a Second Age origin for the wizards,
Stupid.
which, while not canon, is a thing that Tolkien had played with for a while, he comes from Valinor preloaded with everything he needs! He does not have to quest for his staff, or his name, or his mojo. The whole point of the Istari is that they were sent with everything they needed, not to set power against power, but to guide and to guard and to advise. Where the Astari screwed up is when they forgot that or denied it and sought power on their own in these realms.
Or apparently just picked the wrong stick.
We provide the same stick that's a little narrower at one end. Go ahead, keep that one.
Apparently.
And mine was Celebrimbor the Naive. Celebrimbor is basically the Tony Stark of the Second Age among the elves. He's the grandson of Fëanor?
Yes.
Grandson of Fëanor, who Fëanor, if you don't know, was, again, he basically defined the First Age for the elves. He was like the uber elf. He was the one who saw Galadriel as a potential rival or help, to give you an idea of how big he was in his time. And there are moments that have Celebrimbor talking about things like he's not sure if he can fill the shoes of his grandfather. The moments like that aren't bad. The actor is doing a good job, but the actor is not the right actor for this part. Not only that, but his look is really not right. He should have, honestly, he was maybe someone that Hugo Weaving would have been better at playing. A little harder, a little leaner, maybe more prone to looking angry, mostly proud. Not a bad guy, but not a flawless guy. This is a kindly old grandpa. Also, he's a moron. Sauron doesn't spend decades or even centuries slowly weaning him into his confidence. No, he just says, hey, I'm sent by God. Okay.
Goy!
And he knows that there's an evil spirit out there trying to do bad things. That's already been established by this point. He's not the least bit guarded by this. And he only gets stupider and stupider. At least by the end they imply that he's being actually visually deceived with illusions of Sauron, which is in character for Sauron. He's all about illusions and fakes and lies and all that. But by that point he was he'd already made too many bad choices just based on the guy's word. I can't buy that this is the Celebrimbor of the books.
Not a great plan.
Also, it should have taken a couple centuries, but we'll get into that soon enough, I promise you.
I agree with you. Not only is Celebrimbor shockingly stupid in this adaptation, he's sadly miscast. I feel like they went far too old and far too low energy for this role.
It's a shame because the actor is not bad. Again, he's just not right for this role.
This character should be a generation younger than Galadriel, closer to Elrond. I don't blame the actor. I blame the casting and the writers.
Well, that's most of it. Most of the actors here aren't bad. They're just not in the right role.
Or given reasonable things to do.
Yeah. Even the actress playing Galadriel, again, I think she'd have been a fine Celebrian. She's just not a good Galadriel.
Just got the feeling, she's the kind of chick you'd meet at Lilith Fair.
Why would you be going to Lilith Fair?
To meet chicks like this.
Oh.
Then they get a little wine in them, they just get crazy on you.
Number 3. Sauron
Sociopathic hobbits.
Alright, there's a switch. We both covered it, so now we're just going to cover the other's opinion. Kim, tell us about your sociopathic hobbits. Again.
Oh my Valar, these little shits. I want to slap every one of them. And the reason it went so high on my list is because hobbits were Tolkien's ideal people. They're just good salt-of-the-earth folk. They like to eat, they like to drink, they like to smoke, they like to party.
At their worst, maybe they're a little dismissive of outsiders. That's why their worst
At their
trait.
worst, they're slightly xenophobic and gluttonous. But, as Gandalf says, they will surprise you. Even the
evil ones do in the books.
When the long winter hits, hobbits come back harder. They look after each other. They make sure that everyone's taken care of. Even a hag like Lobelia can turn over a new leaf and become a better person.
And the other hobbits will take her in and accept her instead of saying, no, you did bad in the past. They will take care of their own, certainly decently. They don't leave them to die.
Hobbits should be good, hearty, supportive, decent, loving, caring folk.
You just got to activate them, basically.
Not sociopathic, thieving little shits.
Take their wheels and leave them.
And the fact that this show doesn't seem to even understand how unsympathetic they have made the Harfoots is amazing to me.
Elves have forests to protect, dwarfs their mines, mend their fields of grain. Even trees have to worry about the soil beneath their roots. But we Harfoots are free from the worries of the wide world.
As an Irishman, I also appreciate the accents.
This really seems like a political worldview difference. Genuinely believing that the world owes you a living is a sympathetic mindset. Not to anyone who's ever had to work a day in their life of an actual job. I'm sorry, Hollywood, but you guys need to really get off your ass, dust yourselves off, look yourselves in the mirror, and realize that being a shiftless grasshopper is not the way to live. Get doing some frickin' work before winter comes, because we're not going to provide for you. And we don't sympathize with people, not even just with their hands out, but their hands in our pockets.
Not that this is going to lean into any modern politics. Although, since Amazon's doing that on purpose, you got to expect that. We'd like to leave these things on the side. You guys insist on opening the debate. And yes, I chose Sarah Ladriel, just as Kim did. For me, it's even more of a betrayal. That's why it's higher up. Although I have no new thoughts on it, this is just not Galadriel. You could have had another character maybe be sexually beguiled by Sauron. Sauron's never sexual in the books, but that's not an unrealistic place to take him if you want to go there. But not Galadriel. But then, as we're going to talk about very, very soon, this isn't really Galadriel. This should have been a different character in this role. You'd have been better to create a brand new elf woman and maybe have Galadriel up there as a counter to her. Because this just isn't Galadriel. It's not her personality. It's not even her physique. Galadriel was a tall woman, and this lady's not.
It's the wrong shape. It's the wrong height. The wrong width. Other than that, it's perfect.
Number 2, Evil Galadriel.
Mount Doom.
Take it.
As Matt was discussing earlier about Sauron finding a place to set up base rather than making a place to set up base, I could have accepted that Sauron made a place to set up base. Morgoth certainly did. He altered the climate of the far north and made it perfect for his purposes.
I would question Sauron having the ability to do that.
That is a fair argument. However, I could accept that the residents of a Maiar in this place over long centuries would have an effect on the climate and ecosystem. You do see the same thing in fairness in the First Age with Melian.
Nerd alert!
But what I can't accept is that it would be this BS mousetrap system of
This was dumb when the dwarves did it in The Hobbit.
Yeah, this is not the slow effect of a magical being on an area.
A malignant force.
Yeah, this is not a malignant or benevolent force. This is not a Fisher Kingdom. This is Fisher Pride! So, let me see if I understand this correctly. We had all these orcs dig all these trenches, okay. Even though orcs are not good for digging out in the open, you've got to cover all the trenches with like miles of sunshade, okay. And the elves never noticed this because they're stupid.
That one tracks.
Okay.
These elves are stupid.
And then you've got this tower that Sauron lost possession of and apparently didn't immediately try to regain. Alright. And you got to put the sword in the thing.
Don't
and
forget,
turn
he
it
spent most of
into-
the Second Age as a pile of poop.
Everything about this plan is illogical, stupid, and has way, way too many steps. Sauron's ridiculously circuitous plan should not be 1/4 complete for the entire Second Age.
Well, we've already talked about Evil Galadriel, but it's kind of the stain on the front of this sheet that is the show. What is with this Galadriel? Every time she turns around, every time I think, well, maybe she's learning and she's growing, because that's what they said at the beginning. This is young Galadriel, who's only now learning, even though she's been around since the First Age, if not before the First Age. But no, she's still learning, even though this would be her equivalent of middle age. But she's still learning, and yet she refuses to learn. Every time you think she's learned from this fight, nope, she's just as arrogant as ever, just as dismissive of anyone who doesn't agree with her, just as quick to rise to anger, in the equivalent of like maybe a decade later for an elven lifespan. Oh, she'll be the serene queen of wisdom, and everyone will listen to her because she knows what she's talking about and she's perceptive. Even though right now, Captain Marvel has more perception than her. At her worst.
Yeah, calling this young Galadriel is like a politician who talks about the youthful indiscretions he made in his mid-30s. No, you should be over the weed and the clubbing and the blackout drinking by now, Galadriel. Okay?
Galadriel by way of Kesha. That's what we need.
I just smoked the wrong side of a cigarette! Who wants to go swimming? Oh, this song is about me!
I think that this is similar to the sociopathic hobbits in that, yet again, I don't believe the showrunners fully understand how unsympathetic they have made this character.
Oh yeah, they think strong woman equals right.
Well, and they think that strong woman equals brutal, harsh, unwilling to listen to any counsel, refusal to see reason.
Uses your strength to bully those without strength. Disregarding the past, because Tolkien loved disregarding the past.
Whoa. I agree with Matt. This character would have been better if it was Celebrian, with Galadriel as a restraining influence on her.
Or a I told you so type character.
Because Celebrian, number one, is very young in elven terms, and number two, is mostly a blank slate in Tolkien. We know almost nothing about her personality. We just know that she's the daughter of Galadriel and Celeborn, and will eventually marry Elrond.
Which means that their kiss would actually be a foreshadow of the future instead of a, what the hell is this moment?
And there's a ton of room to embellish, improvise, and come up with new ideas.
And he can give her a tragic death. You can make it very dramatic and valuable for your show. Nope. And the one fail to rule them all,
the long weekend.
Already our minds are becoming one.
What do you know? We did not plan that. We both picked the same one for number one. This is the one that pisses me off the most, and apparently Kim too. Interesting that we never covered all the idiocy of Numenor in all this. Although we've covered that a lot in the first 4 episodes, so. But yes, the long weekend, that is the Second Age. Kim, how long was the Second Age in the actual story?
Yeah, about 3,500 years.
So, Jesus would be halfway through the Second Age by our own count of history.
So, you have been? Some things even I cannot do.
Elendil, this guy.
Finding ways to contribute, to serve, something for which you evidently care little.
Or, if you go with Peter Jackson, this guy. His death was pretty much the end of the Second Age, after the battle that killed Sauron and all that we see from the beginning of Peter Jackson. So he's a good measure for roughly how long the Second Age was, since the Second Age, as we see at the very beginning of the show, has barely started, because they still haven't even officially declared the war with Morgoth over yet. They do that at the beginning of the show. And Elendil's already a full adult by then with children. So I think it's safe to say that...
With grown children.
Yes. So I think it's safe to say that Elendil's lifespan is roughly the length of the Second Age in this show. That's about 300 years by Tolkien's time. 300 years versus 4,000.
Well, if I know anything about which number is bigger than the other number, I'd say that...
there.
And guess what? A lot has to happen in the Second Age. Offscreen Kim, give us the rough timeline of what happens in the Second Age.
Oh boy!
And this is a long one.
The founding of Numenor and the transportation of the Edain out to it. The founding of various elven kingdoms. Lindon, Eregion, Dol Amroth, the Woodland Realm, the forging of the Rings of Power. The slow changes in Numenor, which really have to be done generationally, from them being elf friends, to being a little bit jealous and resentful of the elves, to straight up hating and banning the elves, to hating and banning anybody who worships the Valar instead of our new fancy temple of Sauron. You have to have Numenor coming to Middle-earth, starting colonies that originally are havens of health and healing and teaching the men of Middle-earth that slowly become corrupted into slave fortresses and places of evil.
And then we finally start to reach the War of the Last Alliance after the elves have their own war with Sauron. Guess what? Season 3 is going to be compressing that even more than they already were. Because this all has to take place, instead of this being a multi-generational story, and the Isildur not showing up till season 4 or 5.
I know that the showrunners made a statement to the effect that they felt that if they made the Second Age the proper length, they would have to change out their human cast every season. You wouldn't get to know them, and you wouldn't become emotionally attached to them. I'm sorry, but that just proves that you do not understand the point and the themes of this story. Mortality is a central concept in the stories of the
In more than
Second
one
Age.
way. That's why the humans wanted the Rings of Power, to fight mortality.
That's why Numenor fell. Resentment of their mortality. An attempt to seize immortality by force.
You'd almost think maybe having multiple generations with a brand new cast every season until the very end would actually bring that home, where the elves are the same actors and you have new people playing new generations. Almost like that would hit your theme home. Nope, we got to make it something they can talk about. We got to aim down for the dumbest, shallow-minded people instead of assuming that people can get the complex themes of mortality.
And Tolkien should never be about casting to that lowest common denominator. You need to respect your audience because this is a fandom full of very intelligent people.
Me am not know that one. Me cannot watch. Oh, yeah, you can watch. This will make you better. Try it out. Try a complex story. It's worth it.
Plus, I'd argue that you wouldn't necessarily have to recast every single person.
There are opportunities. Well, yeah, people can play their own descendants.
You wouldn't have to necessarily recast every single person every single season. Season 1, you've got a Numenorian. Season 2, give him some different hair and makeup, he's playing his own descendant. Season 3, you give him a ring. Season 4, now his ass is a Nazgul.
And by the way, following a Nazgul all the way through that phase, that only highlights how scary these things are. Remember, the Nazgul aren't just spooky ghosts.
They were once men.
I feel like compression is the #1 sin of this whole series, and the main problem from which many other problems stem.
It didn't do the Merlin series much favors either.
Both compression of time and compression of space, compression of character cast, compression of ideas. They have made everything so small and so petty when it should be wide and vast and Shakespearean.
Although I will say this highlights again why the stories about Harfoots and Gandalf were unnecessary, because you have enough you can fill this space with. You can tell this story about the elves and about Numenor. That's enough. You don't need to add all these other subplots. But again, I know Hobbit. Those are the people they were aiming at. That's what they think you are if you're watching this show. I think better of you.
So hopefully we won't have to watch any more of this show.
Well, we'll still watch it in a train wreck kind of way, but now we don't have to re-watch it and take notes on it.
It's gone.
So again, decide for yourselves, but oh Lord, we don't want to watch this show ever again.
It's done.
And next time we'll be back with some Star Trek. Not even sure what Star Trek yet, but we'll be back with Star Trek, and it'll be a lot quicker than this has been.
Even if it's bad Star Trek, it'll be better than this crap.
Well, depends on the bad Star Trek, because what if it's this?
I think I swallowed my combat.
Already?
We'll stick with real Star Trek, thank you.